Hey everybody, welcome back. It is the Monday edition of the Doug Russell Television Show, the all-new Doug Russell Show right here on sportsradio1250.com for Monday, March 9th. Had a busy sports weekend this past weekend. We'll get to that in just a couple of moments. But up first, of course, it is time once again to go into the Milwaukee Braves hat to pick out the next member of the Milwaukee Brewers that I will riff on for about, a minute or so, depending upon who we select. And today's, well, we got two of them. Let me throw one of them back. Today's riffer is Jason Kendall, the Brewers catcher who's coming into his second season, his first year with Brewers manager Ken Macha, at least here in Milwaukee, but they do have a history back in Oakland where there was maybe a little friction. Talked to Ken Macha about it on last week's program, on one of last week's programs, and he said that there's absolutely no truth whatsoever to those that say that there is some sort of rift between he and Jason Kendall. The problem with Kendall is last year he caught too many games. No catcher, at least at this stage of the game, can catch as many games as 130, 140 games. Mike Rivera showed last year that he can play in this league. Jason Kendall, at the end of the season, the offensive production just wasn't there. I'm never going to fault a guy who wants to play, and from that standpoint, Jason Kendall is absolutely what you want in a teammate. He's a gamer. He's a guy who goes over the pitchers, or goes over the hitters with the pitchers, and he's somebody that everybody wants to play with. And everybody on the Brewers pitching staff, to a man, said that what made them as good as they could be last year was having Jason Kendall as their catcher. That having been said, the offensive production really did slide at the end of last season. Hopefully that won't be the case. I'm looking for Jason Kendall to catch maybe 120 to 130 games this year, and I think the Brewers pitching staff will be just fine, and Kendall will be just fine for the stretch drive. All right, that is today's player that we're spotlighting here on the Doug Russell Television Show, the all-new Doug Russell Show. Now, on to the sports weekend. It began Friday night in Chicago. Well, my sports weekend didn't get off to a great start here in Chicago. The Bucks losing to the Bulls here in Chicago by a final score of 117 to 102. Ben Gordon, once he got hot in the fourth quarter, it was all but over. Very important game for both teams. The Bulls come away victorious against their former coach. Some in the media here in Chicago said that Bulls players had this one circled on their calendars. That may have been the case because the Bucks, they pulled to within 3 a couple of times in the fourth quarter, but weren't able to close the door, weren't able to get over that hump. Hopefully the sports weekend gets a little bit better tomorrow for a 1 o'clock start. Marquette's final home game of the season against Syracuse at the Bradley Center. And by the way, hopefully my seats tomorrow will be a little bit better than these. But then it was time to drive home, back to Milwaukee. Well, of course, we're coming up to the Oasis right now, just outside of Chicago. It is 12:17 in the morning, and traffic is moving at about, well, you can see 20 miles an hour or so. The only place in the world where this would happen, of course, would be just outside of Chicago, Illinois. They have absolutely no clue when to roll the barrels out. At this rate, I'll get home at about, 4 in the morning. Thanks a lot, Illinois Department of Transportation. Appreciate it a lot. Yeah, I'm not even going to make this up. These seats are a little bit better than last night's. All right, and as we know, the outcome of the Marquette-Syracuse game didn't exactly go as planned. The Syracuse Orange able to beat the Marquette Golden Eagles in overtime, but it just seemed as though at the end of that game, Jarrell McNeil was really tired, and that's why he played all 45 minutes. In fact, in the last 5 games, Jarrell McNeil has played every single minute. How much that's going to hurt them down the road and in the NCAA tournament, really, I think it's going to hurt them significantly, but time will tell on that. That'll do it for today's edition of the program. Have a great day, everybody. We'll talk to you tomorrow right here on sportsradio1250.com, and tomorrow morning starting at 5 on the Doug and Mike Show, cooked up by George Webb Restaurants on Sports Radio 1250 WSSP.